Flight 927. The seat, the power, and the reckoning. Imagine this. You're standing at an airport terminal, ticket in hand, exhausted after a week that stretched you in every possible way. All you want is to find your seat, hear the steady hum of the engines, and finally relax. But what should have been a routine boarding experience spirals into something far more complicated. A gate agent blocks your path, doubting whether you even belong. Onlookers exchange puzzled glances as an uncomfortable tension thickens. And then, someone unexpected steps into the story. This is a moment about prejudice, hidden power, and unforgettable karma. The passenger who wasn't supposed to matter. Marissa Coleman was no stranger to airports. At 38, she had crisscrossed the globe more times than she could count. As the founder and CEO of Coleman Innovations, she had built an empire of sustainable technology. She was also the largest private investor in Zephyr Airlines. Yet despite her prominence, she preferred a low profile. No headlines. No magazine covers. She let her accomplishments speak for themselves. On a sweltering afternoon in July, Marissa stood at Gate D19 of Houston Grand Harbor International. She wore a tailored deep blue pantsuit, her dark braids cascading down her back. Her poise was second nature, the result of years spent negotiating multi-million-dollar deals in boardrooms dominated by men who underestimated her. She balanced her carry-on by her side, casually scrolling through her phone as an update came in. Her flight to Chicago was delayed due to a late inbound arrival. Around her, weary travelers shifted impatiently, muttering under their breath. But Marissa remained unbothered. A delay was an inconvenience, sure, but she knew how to manage time. She began drafting a few emails on her phone, losing herself in work until a flicker of something unusual caught her eye. The gate agent, a woman named Brenda Tully, was watching her. A smile that didn't work this time. Brenda wore her Zephyr Airlines uniform stiffly, her auburn curls pinned into a tight bun that seemed as severe as her demeanor. Her name badge rested on her lapel, gleaming under the harsh terminal lights. Her gaze darted from passenger to passenger until it landed back on Marissa. There was something in that look, an appraisal that was less about security and more about suspicion. Marissa let it slide. Maybe Brenda was having a tough shift. Maybe she was under stress. When Marissa finally approached the counter to ask if there was an earlier connection to Chicago she might catch, Brenda's expression hardened. "Can I help you?" Brenda asked, her tone suggesting the opposite. Marissa smiled warmly, keeping her tone polite. "I was wondering if there's any chance of catching an earlier connection. My schedule's tight." Brenda didn't smile back. Instead, she extended her hand. "Palm up. Boarding pass." Marissa obliged, tapping her phone screen to display the digital version. Brenda barely glanced at it before muttering under her breath, "Sure you're in first class." Marissa heard her. It was quiet, but not that quiet. Her jaw tightened ever so slightly, but she didn't react. "Not yet." "Yes, I am," Marissa replied evenly. "Flight 927 to Chicago. Seat 2A." Brenda's fingers clicked on her keyboard, her lips pursed tightly as she read whatever was on the screen. Then, with a loud enough voice to draw nearby attention, she said, "It looks like you're on the wait list for an upgrade, not confirmed for first class." Marissa felt the familiar sting of public humiliation. It wasn't just what Brenda said, it was how she said it. Like Marissa had been caught trying to cheat the system. Quietly, Marissa reached into her bag and pulled out the printed boarding pass that explicitly stated her seat, 2A. First class. Confirmed. But before she could hand it over, Brenda waved her off. "You'll need to speak to customer service if there's a problem with your upgrade status," she said dismissively, turning her attention to the next person in line. Marissa stepped away, struggling to process what had just happened. She had booked her seat days ago, directly through Zephyr Airlines' elite concierge service. She had the confirmation email, the receipt, everything. She wasn't on any wait list. Something was wrong. The assistant who never missed a beat. Marissa wasn't prone to panic. But she also wasn't naive. She pulled out her phone and dialed her executive assistant, Lana Bishop. If there was anyone who could cut through airline red tape, it was Lana. "Lana," Marissa said, keeping her voice low. "I need you to check something for me. It agent's telling me I'm not in 2A. Says I'm on a wait list." Lana's reaction was immediate and fierce. "What? That's impossible. You have a confirmed seat. Give me 2 minutes." Marissa sent over screenshots of her confirmation, the email chain, everything. While Lana worked her magic, Marissa approached another airline employee nearby, Zach, a customer service representative. Zach looked at her boarding pass and frowned. "I see you were downgraded," he said, glancing at his screen. but there's no reason listed here. That's strange. Marissa watched as Zach glanced toward Brenda, his discomfort obvious. I'll check with her, he said hesitantly. Marissa followed his gaze. Brenda was now speaking to another agent but broke off when Zach approached. Marissa couldn't hear the words, but she saw Brenda's body language, too close, too controlling, and then a sharp flick of her hand as if to dismiss Zach altogether. Zach returned a moment later, visibly tense. Miss Coleman, he said, please wait a moment while we sort this out. Boardroom skills, terminal chaos. Marissa crossed her arms, her mind racing. If she were anyone else, this might be the end of the line. But she wasn't just anyone. And Brenda had just picked the wrong person to mess with. Her phone buzzed. Lana again. Marissa, I got in touch with someone at Executive Resolution, Lana said. There's no downgrade on your record. None. Your seat is still confirmed in the system on their end. Something's not adding up. Patch them through, Marissa said without hesitation. Minutes later, Sarah Kent from Zephyr's executive office confirmed it. Seat 2A was Marissa's. No question. Marissa waited. When Sarah told her the manifest was updated and that Brenda should see it on her screen, Marissa approached the gate once more. Brenda didn't look happy to see her. You're not in first class, Brenda snapped before Marissa could say a word. I already told you that. Marissa kept her cool. Please check the manifest again. Reluctantly, Brenda turned back to her computer. Marissa watched closely. Brenda's jaw tightened as she read the updated manifest. But instead of accepting reality, Brenda pressed a button. A sharp beep sounded over the terminal speakers. Security to gate D19, came the announcement. Escalation and the captain's intervention. Passengers backed away. Marissa stood her ground as two security officers arrived. Brenda wasted no time pointing at her. This passenger is attempting to board illegally, she announced. She refuses to leave the gate. Marissa's pulse raced. I have my ticket, she said, holding it up. And the executive office confirmed my seat. Brenda smirked. We have reason to believe your seat was changed fraudulently. Before security could move, another voice cut through the tension. That won't be necessary, said Captain Evelyn Drake, striding toward them in full uniform. The captain took Marissa's documents and reviewed them calmly. Within moments, she confirmed what Marissa had known all along. Seat 2A belongs to Ms. Marissa Coleman, Captain Drake said, her voice cool but commanding. But Brenda wasn't done. The system glitches, she insisted. My supervisor said. Which supervisor? Captain Drake asked sharply. Brenda's mouth opened. Closed. No answer. Captain Drake turned to Marissa. Come with me, Ms. Coleman. The threat at 30,000 feet. Once on board, Marissa settled into 2A. She tried to relax but couldn't shake the tension. Her phone buzzed again. A text from Lana. Keep me posted. 30 minutes into the flight, a male flight attendant, Jordan, approached and handed her a folded note. Someone in coach asked me to give you this, he said. Marissa unfolded it. You may have won this round, but watch your back. You don't belong here. Her blood ran cold. She pressed the call button immediately. Tessa, a senior flight attendant, appeared. Marissa showed her the note. Minutes later, Captain Drake came to her seat. We'll look into this, the captain promised. You're safe. But Marissa knew better. Whoever wrote that note was somewhere on this plane. The meeting that changed everything. When Marissa landed in Chicago, her assistant called. You're not going to believe this, Lana said. Zephyr CEO, David Rutledge, knows what happened. He's furious. He wants an emergency meeting. The next morning, Marissa arrived at Zephyr Airline's HQ. She wore a slate gray suit that commanded attention. David greeted her himself. Marissa, I'm ashamed this happened. We're taking immediate action. Marissa listened as he laid out plans for sweeping changes, mandatory anti-bias training, a transparent seat reassignment system, and a 72-hour resolution policy for discrimination complaints. He asked her to join Zephyr's Diversity Advisory Board. Marissa agreed, but only if there were real, measurable outcomes. 2 weeks later, she got word. Brenda Tully was terminated. The investigation revealed she had repeatedly targeted passengers of color. Karma in motion. Brenda's world fell apart. Fired. Evicted. Isolated. For years, she'd wielded power over travelers. Now, she had none. Marissa didn't gloat, but she felt something close to peace. She continued to fly Zephyr Airlines, observing changes firsthand. The staff were more attentive, protocols tighter, and discrimination no longer brushed aside. One day, a fellow passenger, an older black woman, paused beside her seat. Thank you, the woman whispered. Marissa smiled softly. She wasn't just flying. She was paving a path for others. The legacy left behind. Marissa's stand became a catalyst for change, not just in Zephyr Airlines but across the industry. Policies were rewritten. Cultures shifted. And though she never sought fame, she became a symbol of resilience and progress. She hadn't just secured her seat. She'd made room for countless others.